Global besties, welcome to 1,000 Miles Pod. You belong here. That feels so good, guys. Global besties, we just want to give you a quick trigger warning for this episode. We are going to be talking about body image, weight, height, all things that goes along with body image and the pressures of society. So if you find that particularly triggering, then I think maybe skip this episode, head to the next one. But please remember that you belong here, whoever you are, and whatever walk of life you come from. But we just want to make sure that you protect yourself. Anyway, into the episode. Global besties, welcome back to episode 7 of 1,000 Miles Pod. I can't believe we're 7 episodes deep already. How are we all doing?
I cannot believe we're saying that out.
I know.
I can't believe we're saying 7 out loud.
Wherever you are listening in the world, we hope you're having a great day. But I am here in Guernsey. This is Tyler, still in Guernsey. Nikki, where are you today?
I am in Albania, in a small town called Gollum.
Like Batman.
Maddie, where are you?
And I am still at home in Kauai, which means we are recording today from 8,400 miles across the globe, or 13,500 kilometers, which is crazy. We just had the craziest text exchange. Nikki sent me a picture of sunset right before she ran to record this podcast, and I was watching sunrise right as she was watching the sunset, which is crazy to think about, that she was saying goodbye to the sun and sending it my way, and I was saying hello to it. It made me feel super connected to you guys from across the globe, so it's a super sweet moment.
I literally was like, wow, she's just on the other side of that, right there. Like,
other side of the
it
horizon.
got me like right in the heart.
Yeah.
I was like, just there. I could just swim there.
Lasso the sun and ride it over the horizon.
Guys, in today's episode, last episode we touched a little bit on body image and sort of pressure from social media or from external sources. So we want to deep dive a little bit more into that, because I think things change. I think as women, all three of us kind of have had our own fair share of pressures when it comes to our looks and how we've sort of grown through that phase of life. So that is what we are talking about today, and I'm sure it's something that you guys can all relate to also. So guys, I'm going to just ask this straight up. Do you feel like being on social media has changed the way that you look at yourself?
Such a great question. I was thinking about this topic ahead of time a little bit and thinking, like, when was the first time that I really had an awareness of my body compared to other people's bodies? Like, at what point did that happen? And I think for me, because I was an athlete so young, there was an awareness of my body, in comparison to other people's bodies, but it wasn't really from a body image standpoint. It was more just I was noticing my vertical's higher than this person, or I'm built differently for this skill on the volleyball court, or that was kind of the awareness of it. So it's interesting because I feel like that was really protective for me in a lot of ways, having athletics. And I really feel like I struggled with body image way more as an adult than I ever did, during the quote unquote stereotypical, teenage years, college years, where it may seem a little bit more stereotypical. But I remember one of the first times I ever really struggled with body image was after I was married, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Is this just what people felt as teenagers? So it's really interesting to kind of battle that a little bit more now, and also be living my life literally in front of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people online. Such an interesting dynamic.
What was the after marriage, how what hit? Was that end of the athletics or what?
Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing, was end of athletics. That all coalesced at the same time for me, because I graduated college, got married, and retired from volleyball, and moved across the country, literally all in the same, that was all one action. So pretty much everything in my life, changed. And I think that was the biggest thing, was it wasn't necessarily having anything to do with marriage, other than now I'm just living with this person who sees me in all forms. But I think it was the end of my athletic career, where I was having to grapple with, okay, what's the purpose of my body now? How do I take care of it? I'm not working out. I'm not training 4 to 5 hours a day. This is such a bizarre thing. I look in the mirror and I don't know who, I feel so disconnected to the body that's looking back at me.
Maddie, remind us, what age were you when you got married?
I was 22.
Okay,
Basically 23. I turned 23 like a week and a half later, but yeah, 22.
The reason I ask that is because I am fully convinced that we go through like a second puberty, because your body changes so much as a teenager. But absolutely in young adulthood, I find I had some of the biggest body changes in my early 20s. So that probably coincided like roughly the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think the amount that I was training during like normal puberty years, I mean, I obviously went through that, but I was training so much that I just think when I stopped, it was like a full body meltdown, like full system, like from hormones to metabolic, like everything just like had shock therapy and was like, whoa, 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 like what's happening now?
I think that's such a great place to start though, like about the first time that you noticed your body, or, you know, like thought about it as something else other than just functional, right? Because when you're a kid, like I would like to think, you don't think about your body in the way that it looks. You just want to run as fast as you can and jump as quickly. Like you don't think about how you're being perceived, right? And then as you kind of grow older, that kind of comes more into the picture through external pressures, social media nowadays, which is a whole other kettle of fish. But yeah, no, that's interesting to hear. I think for me, like the first time I really noticed my body was kind of getting bullied at school a bit. I hadn't really ever thought about my weight or the way that I looked until I was probably like maybe 14, which is a privilege in itself because I know people go through it a lot younger. But I kind of found out that for years, some of the boys in my year at school had been calling me chunky behind my back. That was just my nickname to them. And I never really knew that until it came out. And then I was extremely self-conscious about everything.
I think I have like the similar aspect of like the first time. I feel like there's different points or different types of noticing my body for the first time. Like I remember being like in the 5th grade and somebody asking me like how much I weighed, and I was like, oh, I'm 95 pounds or something like that. And they were like, oh my God, like you weigh a lot. My brain was like, I'm also inches taller than you guys. But they had like made this statement and then like kind of piggybacked on it. But I still was like, I'm just bigger than you guys. Like I didn't have the like, oh, I'm fat or this or that. And then I think there were points in like middle school and high school where I was like, I think a lot of it too coincided with my height. Like I very much so was like self-conscious of how tall I was, because it was like in the 6th grade, I went from wearing like a size 00 pant to like a size 7 in the span of that school year, and grew, I don't even know how many inches. Like, and girls hit puberty first. So like these growth spurts happen, and then like all the guys are way shorter than me. And then it's like, oh, well, if you have a crush on someone who's shorter than you, and it's like this, you know, everybody's having insecurities left and right that kind of like can turn into bullying. And so like there were points where I was like, oh, okay, people are just like hitting on things about me that I'm like, well, I can't really help that I'm taller than you. And I can't help that because I'm taller than you, I weigh more than you. I also can't help that our body types are different. And then I think with athletics, a lot like Maddie, I got to a point too where I was like, oh, I'm just like aware of what I'm capable of. Like I'm tall, so like put me on the net. I'm like, whatever, I'm tall and I can jump, put me on the net. Whatever it was, those things I could grasp, but I also didn't find out until much later after high school that a lot of those things that I was holding on to that were like good as an athlete, other people had taken and like developed full eating disorders. And so like that was really interesting to also look back on like what did I think of myself in that, and like how did I keep myself from getting there. But now it's like, I think like you were saying, Ty, we kind of hit that, there's a second wave of like, oh, my body's changing. And I definitely feel like I had that in like my early mid 20s, where I was like, all of a sudden, like when I gain a little bit of weight, I don't just gain it like in my butt. I'm gaining it in my waist, I'm gaining it in my arms, like I'm gaining it in my face. And then it's all online for everyone to see. And it's like, not that it's bad, but people make comments. It turns into the same thing where it's like somebody's speaking their insecurity about my physical appearance to me, about my body.
That's
And like,
it. Like,
it kind of, and it ebbs and flows in weird ways.
and changes in your body, whether you gain weight, lose weight, as long as you're still healthy, ultimately don't matter. But it's the way that people will comment in a particular way to make you feel like you should be ashamed of these changes.
Nikki, I'm curious for you. I know we've talked about this a little bit pre-podcast, but you've talked about some of the interesting dynamics with body image and photography, and just like literally the dynamics of like when you're in front of the camera, you are tall. You're what, like 5'10"?
Yeah.
So your proportions are quite literally different on camera, and how you frame and compose a photo from, you know, if you're behind the camera shooting someone who's like 5'2". So
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear if you want to share it all with our global besties, like even that dynamic and like how that has impacted you.
Yeah. So it's been very, very interesting to create with other creators. And Ty and I, literally while I was in Guernsey, we were looking at my website and we were going through, and she was like, how many of these did you shoot with a tripod? And none of them I had. Like, I had coached someone into photographing me, getting the vision that I wanted in the whole thing. But in that comes, okay, now I have to consider, I've learned over the years, even if I photograph somebody else in the frame who's, let's say, 5'2", when I get in there, there's 8 inches of difference that don't have to just be covered in the, like, in front of the camera, but also behind. Like, if I'm holding the camera somewhere high that someone can't reach, then like I'm never going to get the vision that I want. But then also I have to keep in mind when I photograph someone in a spot, if I think it looks really good on them and then we've switched places and it does not look the same, no, even if they're holding it in the exact same spot, same angle, everything, it simply could just be because I'm much taller. Or like I have to change something because I am so tall. And like part of navigating how to learn even just that was realizing that most of the people I'm looking at online are so small. I don't know what it is, but it's like almost every single content creator I've met is 5'6" or shorter.
Would you say that everyone, like every content creator you've met is a sexy baby and you're a monster on a hill?
Oh, snap.
Guys, I'm not calling Nikki a monster on a hill, but I'm trying to become a Swiftie, so that was a reference.
I am literally, I'm so
perfect.
Impressed by you, Ty. I'm so impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've thought about that for the last 3
That in
minutes.
there. I love it. I was like, where's she going with this? But yeah, it's that vibe.
But that is really interesting that you actually have to consider those different factors when you're creating your art.
Yeah. And I think part of learning that and like what became really difficult is like, there are people that I admire, like creatives that I admire. And like, when you're learning so many things, like I didn't just know how to be in front of the camera, even though like I spent years learning how to be behind it and working with models and coaching and stuff. That doesn't mean like I just know how to be in front of the camera. So you have to like learn all of those things within it, like within what I do. And it took a long time for me to realize, especially like as I'm getting introduced to people, that a lot of the people I look up to for, or I would find inspiration from for posing ideas or whatever, left and right, I was thinking like, oh, we're the same size. Like our friend Carly Place, I don't know, you guys, I don't think I've met her, but Carly, for the longest time before I even met her, like her posing, everything in front of the camera, I'm like, ooh, inspiration. Let me like see if I can recreate that pose somewhere. And I'd go and try and do it. I'm like, what the heck? Why does it look so different? And then I meet her and she's like, I don't know, 5'5", 5'6". Like there's inches difference. Inches, like, so, and you know, her boyfriend's shorter than me also, photographing her, you know? So it's like, not that he's always photographing her, whatever. There's so many variables in all of it. But even that was like a wake-up call to me to be like, oh, even when I'm looking at my inspiration, I have to go, how tall are they? And how do I apply that to my height and not get upset when I then look back and go, oh, that doesn't look good. And I want to blame something else. Like, oh, it doesn't look good because this swimsuit isn't flattering on me, or it doesn't look good because I have a big butt. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I just look like I have a big butt because I'm photographing from an angle that's not flattering to the shape of my body. Because I'm trying to photograph from the same angle Carly would, and we have different body shapes.
It's about finding sort of what you feel confident in, right? And like how you feel like you look the best. And if you feel like you look good, then you're naturally going to have more confidence. And when you're creating content, it's so important that you do kind of, you know, at least try to have that confidence. So that's really interesting to hear. It's really interesting to discuss body image, and we have already touched on sort of athleticism, weight and height, and depending on sort of what maybe you have been bullied about or things that have changed about yourself, it's interesting to see what each of us have sort of noted already. It's a complete spectrum.
It's really fascinating. I am curious for you, Ty, just what your perspective is coming out of like European culture, because I would say that body image in American culture is a nightmare. And I think there's been a little bit of a swing in a good direction with like some body acceptance, but there's also been this swing to like toxic body positivity, which is like, is also not necessarily healthy because you're not considering like actual health. Like there's this middle ground that I feel like, I don't know, the US misses, like media misses, of just like, it's okay to accept your body and also take care of it and try to like improve whatever health stuff you want, you know? So anyway, I'm curious for you, like, do you feel that, I don't know, in the US, at least for me, I don't know, Nikki, if you'd say this, it feels like this oppressive force on women. It's like, yeah.
It's just hanging out. It's hanging out all the time.
So I'm curious if that feels similar for you over in Europe.
I think mainland Europe and the UK, Britain, Guernsey are very different. I feel like in the mainland, like, so the continental Europe, we're talking like France, Spain, Portugal. You guys know the continental Europe.
Yeah.
I feel like they are much more liberal in terms of, I've competed against different countries like this, playing volleyball as well. And even just something like getting changed in the changing rooms. I don't know what it's like in the US. Brits, I think we're quite prude. We like to cover up and everything. They're much more like just whack their clothes off in front of each other. No bother. Nobody cares what anybody looks like. There's topless beaches. People don't really care. Whereas like here we're a bit more self-conscious, maybe a bit more, prude is exactly the word that I would use. So I guess there is a difference for sure. It's interesting though, like I think fat phobia is something that is around everywhere, certainly in Britain, in the States I would imagine too. So I can't exactly speak on the rest of Europe, but yeah, that's kind of where I feel like we stand with it all.
One of the questions I think is just interesting to think through is how has travel, and we can talk through the social media side of this too, but also, I mean, how has travel impacted y'all's view of body image, in view of beauty? I feel like that is one of the greatest gifts that we can have and give ourselves and give to other women, is just a really broad conceptualization of beauty, where it's not just like the American, 5'11", blonde hair down to your ankles, like size 0 model. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. You better believe if I see that on a runway, I'm like, oh my gosh, she literally looks like a goddess. However, that's not the only type of beauty. And I do think travel does an incredible job of opening that up, just blowing that wide open. So what are y'all's experiences with that?
Honestly, I think traveling in itself, just as like a individual, I think you care a lot less about the way that you look, because I think quite often you'll find that you don't think about other people in the way that you think about yourself. You're always going to be your worst critic, right? But when you're traveling and everybody has an ulterior motive, whether they're living their lives in the normal countries or places that they live, or they're also traveling. People just want to connect. People don't care what people look like. You see people of all different ethnicities, all different weights. You see people all different heights. There's a whole plethora. You kind of see the real snapshot of being a human, right? And wow, like everyone is so gorgeous in their own right. It's unbelievable the amount of diversity that there actually is. And I think in the media we get the same type of person crammed down our throats. But it's amazing to see all these different people, all different walks of life, and just the beauty in it.
Yeah, I think that's incredibly accurate. I think one of the first like real big body image travel experiences that I had where I was like, oh, literally nothing matters. Like literally nothing matters about the shape of my body, what I think about my body, what somebody else thinks about my body, was the first time I went to Hawaii. I was so nervous to go to Hawaii and not have cute outfits, not have cute swimsuits, not have the beachy hair, not have the cutest towel and like all of these things, because like that was all I had seen. And then I got there and it was like everyone, everywhere, everything. Like, and all of that, like the perfect things I had seen on Instagram were like few and far between. And I was like, oh, all of a sudden my world got so much bigger than just like you said, the size 0, blonde haired, 6 foot tall Victoria's Secret models. Like, and not that I hadn't known that, but it was like the first time where I was like, why was I so worried about like how I was going to look traveling somewhere? Because I thought only one thing existed, and it doesn't. Like, I never even like just getting to Albania yesterday and like going and walking on the beach. Like, I never could have predicted like what the environment was going to be like. Like, I didn't do the research on like this town in a sense where I like knew exactly where I was going to be when I got here, because I like to discover things. Like, I never could have pictured how many umbrellas were on the beach, just like I could never picture what kind of beauty I was going to find on the beach too. Like, so worrying about all of that just got really silly the more that I've traveled. The more I've just been like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. And you see people sometimes where you're like, damn, I want to see your face on a billboard in Times Square, because they're physically like just that, like, oh my God, gorgeous goddess. But then sometimes you see somebody just like having the time of their lives and like just so happy and living in a moment. And I'm like, that also needs to be on a billboard in Times Square. And like, whether they're conventionally stunning or not, it's like, there's so many other different forms of beauty to be considered that we're just not shown, you know?
It's interesting thinking about travel and body image. My first real just experience of like those two worlds colliding when I was 19. I don't actually know if you guys know this. When I was 19, I took a semester off college and lived in Thailand. I lived in Bangkok.
What?
I was like, I don't think we've ever talked about this.
Literally what?
Yeah.
How does this never come up?
I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people don't actually know that about me. I feel like I don't really ever talk about it. Not for any reason. It was incredibly formative in my life. But I was like living with some Thai roommates. And I remember one day they came up, they just like off the bat were like, you're so pale, you're so pale, you're so pale. And I'm 19 at that point. I'd traveled. That was my first time to Asia, but I had traveled a little bit. And that was kind of the first time where I just realized like, oh, that's a huge compliment in this culture. And I am like I'm like the quintessential beach girl. If skin cancer wasn't a thing, I would quite literally lay in the sun for 12 hours a day. Like, I love being tan. I feel no shame about that. I absolutely love being tan. I think I look really nice and glowy tan with the red hair. It's a unique combo. I love being tan because I have red hair and I do get tan, which is a unique combo. So I think it's super fun. So for me to get that comment, I was like, what the heck? That's like the rudest thing anyone's ever said to me. And, as life kind of unfolded there and I started paying attention to like beauty signs and like 7-Eleven, all this stuff, like I started to realize, oh, this is like coveted here. And I was pale. I mean, it was
Yeah.
the spring. I just come off of winter, but it was so fascinating. That was kind of the first time. It was just like this Tonka truck running into me of just being like, whoa, like it is so different. The world is so different. Like what might be beautiful in the US is not considered beautiful in other places and vice versa, which is literally proof that we are all making this crap up.
100%.
We're literally
Making it
making this
up.
crap up.
Also, it doesn't matter where you live. My perception of beauty might be completely different to the person that lives next door to me on the same island. Beauty is such a spectrum. And like Nikki said before, it's not just about physical looks. Like, if I think about the most beautiful people I've ever met, my mind instantly goes to these women that I met in Fiji. And don't get me wrong, they were physically gorgeous as well. But they were the kindest people that I have ever met. And they were just so beautiful because I just felt like their kindness and their like genuine joy for life was just like exuding from their soul.
I had someone bring this up to me once. I don't even remember who it was, but I've never forgotten this. Isn't that funny how you can like remember what someone said, but you're like, I don't even remember who said this. But they were like, there's a difference between people who are pretty and people who are radiant. And you can chase your whole life. You can chase your whole life being pretty, or you can chase being radiant. And like one is inner beauty. And yeah, sure, maybe radiance is also, you know, a glowy skincare routine. But, you know, it's like, do you want to be pretty or do you want to be radiant? And that was really life-changing. I was like, whoa, because you meet beautiful people who, for whatever reason, probably very fair reasons, are kind of struggling, whatever, going through tough stuff. You meet people who maybe conventionally beautiful, maybe, you know, uniquely beautiful, but they're just radiant and you're so drawn to them and it's just infectious and you're like, I need to be around this person.
I think if like the first word somebody used to describe me was beautiful, I'd be disappointed because I feel like there's so much more to a human than the way that you look. When I think of people, I try to think of their character first. And obviously, if somebody's beautiful, by all means, you tell them they're beautiful. That's fine. Everybody likes a bit of an ego boost. But like, there's so much more to a person than how they physically look.
Yeah, I think that brings up a very good point in how women are raised versus how boys are raised. The like often, I had a friend who was like becoming a new parent and she had done some research about like how to talk to your children and like create this like positive inner monologue and stuff. And she read something about like often as little girls, obviously, we're taught like the first thing people say is like, oh my God, so beautiful. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, they're so pretty. They're so cute. Instead of being like, she's so funny or like, she's so smart or she's so strong
so brave
or something like that. Yeah. It's all about what's happening on the outside and nothing about like who the little girl is as a person and growing into her personality. But she like in that the friend had also said that like that inner monologue of like how you think about yourself often comes from how your mom speaks about herself. Like, why are moms never in photos? Mm-hmm. It's usually something like, I just don't look good in photos. Mm-hmm. My hips are too big. My face is too round. Whatever, X, Y, and Z. And the moms are never in it. And then that becomes your internal monologue combined with, oh my God, she's so cute and she's so pretty. And then you grow up and you stop hearing those compliments or you only hear that. And what are you? Mm-hmm. How do you know who you are? And not saying that you should only know who you are based off of like what somebody else is telling you, but at the end of the day, if your inner monologue is being formed by something that's not positive or like self-fulfilling in this way, then like how are you meant to find that self-fulfillment in your body image or who you are beyond your appearance?
Yeah, do you know what? So 3 years ago now, I shaved my head. And for the listeners, I have long, thick, wavy hair with curly hair. Whatever. There's a
luscious
curly, wavy
locks.
Luscious.
I shaved it for charity and whatnot anyway, but I found whenever I wore my hair down, the first thing people would say is, oh my gosh, you've got such beautiful hair. Oh, your hair's gorgeous, which is, again, lovely to hear. But I felt like I'd really seen my face for the first time when I shaved my hair off, which is funny because I've always had my face, but it felt so liberating to let go of what society deems as feminine and beautiful for a great cause as well. And I truly believe, Nikki, don't disagree with me here. I truly believe that everybody would look good with a shaved head.
I mean, from the front me, maybe even not from the side. Okay, Ty is saying this, guys, because I had a hairdresser once. I told her that I was gonna shave my head, and she like grabbed the back like notch of my head, and she was like, "It wouldn't be a cute shaved head. You'd probably look like a little bit like an alien."
However,
like,
you would still be the beautiful, radiant person that you are without any hair.
Yeah, I just don't know if I want to see the back of my head like that.
Yeah.
Look, the back of my head is none of my business.
That's true. I do have days, speaking of that, where I'm like, if I don't look in the mirror, I don't have to deal with the way I look. This is a Patrick issue. He has to deal with the way I look.
That is interesting that you mentioned that, because I heard something recently and it was like, we were never meant to see our reflection as much as we do. The only time we're meant to see our reflection is in water, if you take it back. And it's like, wow, that really put a whole new perspective on things, because we, as a society, generally, obviously not everybody, but a lot of us, you know, are kind of obsessed with the way that we look just because we are so perceived. But we were never meant to see ourselves as much.
Yeah, it's interesting. I kind of forgot about this memory until now. I went to the same summer camp for 11 years, and every like term that we were there, I always went for 2 weeks. And one day out of the 2 weeks, I don't know what they called this day, but it was a no mirrors day. They covered the mirrors in every cabin and every single mirror on like the campground. And it was basically a day like to kind of just celebrate beauty and like have freedom from that. And I remember loving it. Literally every year, it was one of my favorite days. And I have not thought about that since I was probably 18.
I love that.
Wow. I can't say that I'm somebody who's like always seeking out a mirror, but I'm like, I wonder what my brain would do. Not even having to brush my teeth looking in a mirror. Like, I hate standing in front of a mirror and brushing my teeth. Like, anytime I brush my teeth, I walk away from the mirror. Mm-hmm. I'm like, why do I need to like stand in front of this and watch myself brush my teeth every day? Like, even that's weird to me.
Yeah, I should say there was a caveat. You could use the mirror if you had to put contacts in.
Yeah, don't need anybody stabbing themselves in the eye.
No, I love that, Ty. That's so fascinating. Just that concept of like, we were never supposed to, I'm a big believer of that. Like, we were never supposed to have this much connectivity, which is hilarious given the context of what we all do. But it's like, okay, whatever. But we were never supposed to see ourselves in, you know, unless it was in water, which for me is like, water is literally my happy place. I just started yesterday doing this new thing where first thing in the morning I jump in the pool. It's the very first thing I do before I look at my phone. I couldn't do that today because we're recording the podcast so early for me. So I was like, sweet, a one-day habit. But I'm trying to do that, and it's interesting because I'm like, dang, what would that have been like to live in that time? I would not have enjoyed it because I like modern conveniences. But what would it have been like to live in that time where the only time you saw yourself was also in your safe place, in your happy place, in your joyful place?
Oh, I love the way that you've just connected that back to like the place that you feel the happiest. In the water, that's so precious.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also to even think about like you're only seeing yourself when you're like if you're looking at yourself in water, you're likely looking at the water because you need it, right? Like you're not just like strolling by and being like, oh, I want to look at myself today. Let me look in water. It's like, oh, am I looking in water because like I need this? Like, you know,
also,
like, I need this to survive. I have to drink it.
Water is often not still. So there's be ripples and you wouldn't be able to see a completely clear reflection looking back at you. So, you know, like, I don't know. I feel
Yeah,
like
it's so interesting.
I've seen these posts online and it's like people showing their stretch marks and then showing the clouds and they look the same as the stretch marks and things like this. And I love thinking about my body as like, don't get me wrong, the relationship with my body is, you know, there's good days, there's bad days. But I love looking at things like that and thinking, wow, like the sea has ripples and so do my legs. The sky is the sky is not perfectly clear and neither is my skin. Like, I don't know.
The clouds are fluffy and so am I.
Absolutely.
Gummy bears are beloved and I have the body of a gummy bear.
I love a gummy bear.
Yeah.
I love a gummy bear. Oh my God, that was so gold. But I do feel like all of those things, like you said stretch marks, and it kind of reminded me because my latest escapade on the internet with somebody commenting on my body was I posted this video of my friend Chas and I on a paddleboard, and like just my legs were on the video and I'm like filming up towards her and we're laughing and like having the best time. And some guy commented, "Nikki, your stretch marks are showing." And I was like,
That's disgusting.
and like, I didn't even notice my stretch mark. Like, I got over my stretch marks years ago. Like, I was still in high school when I went through the like, oh my God, I have stretch marks, panic, the end of my life, downfall, and then crash and burn. And just kidding, it's not a big deal. I'm fine. I literally don't even think about my stretch marks anymore. I just was like, the fact that this is something that a man feels the need to comment on is crazy. Like, what world we live in the sense that it's like, what were you getting out of that? And like, I'm happy he said it to me. Hopefully he's not saying it to anyone else. Because you never know if somebody else is in the same mental state that I'm in, where I'm like, who cares? You say it to somebody else and they could, you never know what that could do to
re-trigger an
somebody.
eating disorder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I typically stand by the fact that there's really no reason whatsoever to comment on another person's body. Because if
Absolutely.
you're even
And that's
if you're
exactly
trying,
what I said
yeah.
to that guy.
Because even
That's
if you're
exactly
trying
what I said to
to,
him, I was like, don't say anything like that. Why?
yeah, even if you're trying to compliment them, like, you never know. You literally never know if weight loss is due to cancer, if weight loss is due to an eating disorder, if it's due to grief and trauma. You don't know if like surgery's been involved. You just don't know. And it's like, dude, this is like the least interesting thing about me.
Yeah.
It always bothered me in rom-coms and movies. Going back to your point, Ty, of like beautiful, like if someone just says I'm beautiful, it's like, oh, like, okay, like, but I'm so much more. But it always bothered me in like rom-com movies and stuff where, you know, I feel like stereotypically it's usually a girl who's like, why do you love me? Or why do you like me? And the guy's usually like, you're beautiful. And then he'll say other things too, typically. But it's like, it always bothered me when they started with the beautiful things. I'm like, okay, well, that literally fades for everybody. So like, that's not a great foundation.
Yeah, I agree. I hate it. I hate that. I'm like, if you're commenting on my appearance first, we out.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, when Patrick tells me I look beautiful, I'm like, this is the best thing ever. But I also know it's a high trust relationship. I know where he's coming from. I know that that's not the only reason he loves me. So I don't know. It's just an interesting dynamic. I am curious for you guys. How does this look for you living this out on social media? Because this is a timely conversation, I think, for me, because I would say the last 18 months is probably the most I've struggled with body image, because I think I was talking maybe with you guys about this off the podcast, but I had knee surgery for our listeners. I had knee surgery in March of 2024, and I've had 3 major orthopedic surgeries, except this was my first one in my 30s. So my other 2 were in my early mid-20s. And let me tell you, you can have the same surgery in your early 20s and your early 30s, and it's a totally different experience with recovery. So because my knee was hurting for about 6 months prior to surgery, because it was torn up, I really wasn't active. And then obviously after surgery, it took me about 8 months to kind of be at a point where like being active could really make an impact on my body. So I gained like almost 30 pounds during that time period, which I don't weigh myself. I've never had a scale in my house. I don't really care about what my weight is. I just know that because of the doctor's appointments, they weigh you. So in my subconscious, I like knew where I was at when I started going to the doctor 6 months before surgery. I like kind of knew what my weight was, and I knew what it was about 8 months after surgery. And I was like, oh my gosh. And it was so interesting because that coincided with literally blowing up on Instagram at the exact same time and trying to secure brand deals and being on camera every single day and just being like, this is the weirdest experience of my life. Like, this is so bizarre to feel this disconnected from my body, but also like putting it out there in the most vulnerable way I probably have. And it was interesting. So fast forward about a year, I had surgery in March of 2024, and then March of 2025, we were all at the castle together to celebrate Patrick and I's 10-year wedding anniversary. And, you know, second to our wedding day, I would say like that's the day where you're like supposed to feel the most beautiful, like you're doing this vow renewal. And I had the most stunning dress. I'm obsessed with my dress. Sometimes I just stare at it in the closet.
Gorgeous.
And I just remember,
so
I loved it. And I just remember looking in the mirror and being like, I do not feel beautiful. But I also, and just being like, I'm in front of the camera. Like, I literally remember just being really vulnerable about this. I remember feeling a lot of shame, not the whole day, like not at all, not the whole day. I'm not saying it was all, this did not ruin it by any means, but there were like these really like strong moments of this kind of throughout that weekend. But I remember Nikki was shooting us, the incredible photographer that she is. And I literally remember I had this fleeting thought go through my head that was like, Nikki deserves to have a more beautiful person in front of the camera than this.
Oh,
and
Maddie.
And it wasn't like that thought. I think I did a good job of being like, whoa, like that was really dark. Like, what the heck? But, and it wasn't like that was all consuming. But I remember being like, what is happening? Like, your body brought you all the way to 10 years of marriage. Like, your body brought you to literally a castle in Italy. Your body made friends with all of these other friends and their bodies. Like, what are you doing? You know? And I had to have like a serious conversation with myself in that moment. Like, I remember we're all getting ready in the bathroom together, which is like one of the joys of my year, that whole morning. And like really having to fight, like, I'm not a size 2. I'll never be a size 2. Like, I struggle sometimes with feeling like everyone in the social media space is just like tiny and beautiful. And like, why would brands want to work with me? I don't look like that. And it's such an interesting thing. I feel like I'm in a pretty good place with it, but it was fascinating to kind of have just the medical, biological reality of what was going on with my body happen at the same time that we were like blowing up in front of thousands of people. It was like, but I actually think it was a really good thing, because I think if I had just had that experience and not had the discipline of continuing to just show up and be vulnerable, I think I would have spiraled. I think I would have just been in my own world of like, I don't know, just spiraling behind the scenes. So I actually think in some ways social media has been really good, because it's like this forced vulnerability that I think gets me out of my like shame spirals sometimes.
I want to just start by saying like your feelings are completely valid. Like, I feel like that is a universal experience that a lot of people go through, feeling insecure about the way you look. I also want to say, listeners, we're going to have to like post a photo or something, because holy moly, you looked unbelievable. Maddie looked like a real life princess. I've never seen anything like it. It was honestly wild. No, seriously. But I'm so pleased that you caught yourself in that moment and kind of rationalized things and recognized that you were in this state of mind where you were like feeling less than, and you kind of, you know, like I said, you recognized it, you noticed that, and you could take a step back. It pains me to hear that you thought that in the first place, but I'm pleased that you have the maturity and the understanding that you could sort of be like, whoa, where am I going with this?
Yeah, I think especially in such a heightened emotion kind of day, and especially because we got dressed up twice so that we could like photograph around the castle. It's really, I'm so happy that you were able to like not let that take over. I know that I've definitely been in points where like that takes over, but honestly, to God, that I was just fighting tears after you said that, because never, there was not with any of the women. I never have I put someone in front of the camera and thought like, oh, you could be better in some way. Like, that's not like how my brain works. But truly, I was in awe the entire time. I literally was like, this dress couldn't be more perfect. Your hair couldn't be more perfect. Patrick was on it. Like, the whole thing was just like, you were the most princessy princess of the entire day in that castle. And it was just like perfection. But like Ty said, I'm just so happy that you caught that. But it is so real. Like, we all have those moments where it's like, oh, I can either crash and burn about something I know isn't true or grab it. But sometimes it is like those things take over your life. Like,
yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Like, these dark or like tough body image thoughts will happen to everybody, but we get to choose if we attach to them or not. And sometimes they come up in moments like that where you're like, what? You have that internal conversation. You're like, whoa, Maddie, like, pull it together. That was a crazy thought. But you get to choose, like, and sometimes I latch onto them. I didn't kind of in those moments, but I have days, bad body image days, where I latch onto it and I'm like, I just want to wear a XXXXXL t-shirt and lay under a blanket and don't look at anyone. And honestly, sometimes we need those days. Sometimes that's the best thing you really can do. But I don't know, like, we get to choose. Just because we have a thought in our head, especially about our body and our body image, does not mean it's true and does not mean we have to attach to it.
Completely agree. It's really interesting what you said, though, about your marketability with the way that you look. I think we're in a bit of a unique situation where not only are we kind of showing up in front of thousands of people, but also we're considering our image, per se, as a brand, I suppose, because if we do want to work with companies or, you know, hotels, whatever the company is, does the way that we look affect how they see us or how they want to market their product or their business? I've thought about this before.
Right.
When the head shave, I've always said, like, I probably would do it again, but then part of me is like, oh, would companies want to work with me if I don't have long, stereotypically beautiful,
which is interesting,
long hair?
Because where did that come from? Like, why do we think, I've never had a brand be like, you're not blonde, we don't want to work with you.
No.
You're not a size 0, we don't want to. Like, there's never been, like, usually the reason is like, your audience demographics aren't exactly what we are looking for, or like, your reach could be better, or whatever. Like, it's never been like, oh, hey, you could be skinnier. Like, but I've also had those thoughts. I mean, I also, I guess I had a manager at one point tell me, like, you got to set yourself apart. You're just another white girl posting on Instagram. So then it is like, okay, well, what is setting people apart? What are brands looking for? And then, like, does that lead me into a spiral about, like, okay, like, is it really my body image? Like, should I be blonde? You know, like, what is it?
I do think it's worth, I know Ty kind of mentioned this in previous episodes, but it's important, I think, in this conversation in particular, to acknowledge we are all white. We are all white in predominantly white countries working with brands who are probably run, if we're being honest, by predominantly white men in their 50s. And I don't know what it's like to be a person of color in this industry. And certainly not in a minority. This sounds cheesy. I am not saying this is what it's like. But this is the closest thing I've had to that is literally that experience in Thailand. Of being like the quote unquote minority in like a prolonged situation where it's like you are noticing that. And I can't even imagine like extrapolating that to actual difficult dynamics. So I do want to say that because hopefully, Global Besties, we have an audience of literally women and men, but like women from all over the world, like who look different and come from different backgrounds and come from different. So I just want to say that because it has to be acknowledged in this conversation.
I think it's also worth noting that none of us are, you know, extremely overweight or anything like that. I think I hate kind of sort of putting these things out there, like talking about weight in such a way that, you know, somebody who is you know, like really overweight will have a very different experience to somebody who is, I guess, in quote unquote average weight range, if that makes any sense. But I just thought it was important, if you can't see us, that this is where we are kind of coming from, and these are our opinions.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's not right or wrong. That's the thing. Like, these are our experiences with this, and that's all we can do is kind of share our experiences in hopes that somebody, you know, someone listening to this is like, oh my gosh, I've never heard someone say that out loud, or I also feel like that, or like, okay, that's fascinating. Like, I've actually never thought about that. I've never struggled with that, or I don't know, like, this is our heart behind this podcast, is just sharing life and sharing our experiences, and those experiences are going to be different from a lot of people. The three of us have different experiences from each other, so I don't know. Global Besties, we love you guys. This is part of why we want to talk about this stuff. If we wanted to just talk about easy things, we wouldn't have chosen to talk about body image. So we're fascinated just to hear y'all's perspectives and responses on this topic as well. Do you guys find there's certain boundaries you guys have to set with yourselves regarding body image and social media?
I feel extremely fortunate because I was just going to say I have Ben, who kind of deals with a lot of our comments and DMs and things. And by all accounts, like, most people are very lovely, which is great. But I think if I ever saw something that would kind of make me spiral, he could kind of jump on that. And I realised that is a privilege because, Nikki, you handle this by yourself.
I think when I went into content creation, my mentality was I'm never going to be able to please everyone. No matter what I post, I'm going to piss someone off. Or someone can find something to be upset about, no matter what I post. And that included my physical appearance. I know that, like, you can't line up 100 women in a room and line up 10 men and say, pick the most attractive woman in the room, and they're all going to pick the same one. Like, that does, like, it's not how it all works, right? So I kind of went into it all knowing that I was going to probably get picked apart for certain things. I definitely had, like, insecurities, and people have commented on them. I think I've just gotten to a point now where I'm like, there's nothing new someone can say to me that I haven't heard before. And I've come to terms with, like, yeah, maybe my forehead's a little bit bigger than everyone else's, but, like, nobody's walking down the street saying to me, like, Nikki, your forehead's big, or pointing at me being like, haha, look at that girl's forehead. So if somebody's doing that online, it's saying more about them than it is about me, because I don't walk down the street going, oh my God, that girl has a big forehead. And because if I did, that, again, says more about me than it does someone else. So I think now I've just gotten, I don't really get that much, like, comments about my physical appearance anymore. I think for the most part, I found, like, the right corner of the internet. But I think I just really had to grasp, like, what was true about myself, which thankfully, I think this is, like, a lesson my mom taught me a long time ago in high school. I got called all sorts of names in high school that weren't true. That had to do with, oh, she's sleeping around. I wasn't, like, that just wasn't who I was. And then I'd go home and I'd be like, Mom, somebody called me a whore. And I don't know why, you know? And she was like, well, do you know you're not a whore? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, then does it matter? And I'm like, I think you're right. So there's a lot that has shaped, like, a lot of how I view it all. So when it comes to social media and content creation and the body image and, like, the feedback I get about it, I don't think I'm really fazed that much. Like, in the beginning, it was a little rough because it's, like, new to be like, oh, now all of a sudden somebody's giving me an opinion that I didn't ask for. But now I'm just kind of like, whatever. I think I have more issues with and have to set boundaries around, like, who I follow and what the algorithm feeds me, and how much time I scroll. Yeah. Like, if I'm catching myself day after day after day scrolling, all of a sudden I'll be like, I should, like, maybe not photograph myself in a bikini this week or something. Oh. And then it's like, it's stupid. Like, but I feel the, like, spiral, like, happening. And I know it's because, like, oh, I'm spending too much time scrolling. I'm spending too much time scrolling because I haven't gotten outside and touched grass today. I haven't gotten outside and touched grass today because I stayed in bed and looked at my phone first thing in the morning. And I didn't have breakfast right away. And it's those stacks of things that I know about myself that have gotten me to the point where I'm like, oh yeah.
But when you were here in Guernsey, you said that when you weren't looking after yourself or weren't exercising regularly like you like to, you would look back on photos of yourself and be your own worst critic and, you know, like really tear yourself down. But then as soon as you started exercising again, the endorphins, you'd look at the exact same photos and be like, damn, I look good. You know, like...
Yeah. Yeah. Those photos that you took on the front of the boat, Maddie, when we were in Croatia.
Yeah.
When we took them, I was like, yes, I'm on it. I feel good. Love it. Like, I'm so
adorable.
excited. I have this swimsuit. Yeah. Like, and I bought the swimsuit thinking of Croatia and like the whole thing, and got there and everything was good and I loved it. And then I didn't work out for a week and was sitting at Ty's and was editing them and was like fighting a spiral. I was like, oh my God, like all that work I thought I had done, like blah, blah, blah. Like, I really thought I looked so hot then and like whatever. And then I was like, okay, I need to stop. Like, I know I'm spiraling over something stupid. And I worked out and the next day went back to those edits and was like, I'm banging. Like, but I know that about me. Like, I know that about me where I'm like, okay, if I'm not moving my body, I'm going to become more hypercritical. And it's not because I think I need to move my body and look good and like have 6-pack and abs. It's because I know that the more I move my body, the happier I am in the sense of like the endorphins being fed to me. Yeah. Like I just know that if I'm not giving myself those endorphins, I spiral in a different way.
Yeah. What about yourself, Maddie? What like boundaries do you kind of have to set for yourself, or like how do you deal with those kind of bad body image days?
I think I've had to think about this a lot. So I think who I follow, or not even necessarily who I follow, but how much I'm just, like Nikki said, scrolling and like taking in, like, is my feed all size to influencers? Like, that is wonderful. It is. These women are radiant. Like, they really are. And also there's a whole other world out there. Like, do I even follow travel creators of color? Like, do I follow, like, people in other categories? Like, making sure I'm diverse, being disciplined about diversifying who I'm following in my own feed, like really curating my feed to be like a healthy spot, I think is helpful. And then also, this may seem so counterintuitive, but the days where I am struggling with body image or don't want to show up are actually the days where I post the most. I like force myself to be on stories. And I think it's just a discipline thing for me because I think vulnerability is the antithesis to shame. So I'm like, I feel shame today. Perfect. We're going to post stories. We're going to go live. Like, and I don't necessarily love that, but I love the impact it has on me. So honestly, sometimes, girl, check on me. If I'm like on stories a lot that day, be like, we should check on Maddie. See how she's doing.
No, I literally just made that mental note. I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna know when to check on Maddie.
Yeah. No, and I do. I'll go live. I'll post stories like on days where I feel great or whatever. But it's just like this kind of deal I have with myself. Like, I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna force myself to show up, and I've never regretted it ever. Like, it's such a good practice. Yeah.
That's
Ty, what about you?
Amazing takeaway. I completely agree. I think, like Nikki was saying about the whole forehead situation, girl, I remember Tyra Banks back in the day, supermodel, huge forehead, made me feel way better about mine. I think this is the importance of having a variety of people, like you said, Maddie, like following creators of color, following people who are different sizes to you, following just people who reflect the world around us and not just the same kind of category that you are in, if that makes any sense. So like really diversifying your feed because the world is diverse. And I think representation is so important. But yeah, I think if you can take anything away from this, Global Besties, maybe go and find somebody who you don't follow already and go and show them some support. Go follow some people who give you a wider picture of the world.
I love that. And I know we said this at the beginning of the episode, but this is a tough topic. And this is a topic that is deeply vulnerable. It's deeply personal. I don't think there's going to be a single person listening to this that hasn't been impacted by body image in some way. And if you're a guy listening to this, like, check on your girls, you know? And if you're a girl listening to this, check on your guys, because guys are not immune. There's more and more, you know, emerging statistics around guys with eating disorders and body image issues. So we just want this to be a soft place for you guys to land with all topics, but especially this one. I know it could be extra vulnerable, and we appreciate you guys holding space. If you've made it to the end, holding space for us to share, and we want to hold space for you guys to share too. So shoot us an email, DM us on Instagram. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear if there was something that stood out to you, if you have, you know, encouragement for other women. We want to hear it.
And yeah, make sure you guys rate, review, and subscribe to this on whatever listening platform you're on, and share this with someone that you've had this conversation with, and maybe just kind of expand that conversation a little bit, give them a soft place to land, like Maddie just said.
And Global Besties, remember that your beauty is not just defined by the way that you look. However, we know that you are gorgeous just the way you are. You're beautiful, and remember that you belong here.
Okay, stop the recording.
Guys.
I love it.